So competency related to urinary bladder are AN 48.2 describe and demonstrates the urinary bladder under following heading. The position of urinary bladder, features, that is external and internal features, the important peritoneal reflections related to bladder, relations, blood supply, nerve supply, lymphatic drainage of urinary bladder, and the clinical aspects related to it. There is another competency, AN 48.5 explains the anatomical basis of suprapubic cystostomy. It is a procedure. AN 48.6 describes the neurological basis of automatic bladder. So what is urinary bladder? It is a hollow viscus which acts as a reservoir of urine. Urine is formed in the kidneys and it is transported through ureter and conveyed to urinary bladder. So bladder function is just to receive the urine and to empty it. So the size, shape, relations and position of the urinary bladder varies according to its content, that is volume of urine, and also the neighboring visceras. So the term, modern Latin word for bladder is cystis. So only any infection in the bladder can be named as cystitis. The other name for the urinary bladder is vesica urinaria or cystis urinaria. Now let's see the position of the bladder. The position of the bladder varies with volume of urine in the bladder it contains and also age of the individual. In children, the bladder is abdominopelvic. Mostly it is in the abdominal cavity. Since the pelvic cavity is small and the bladder neck lies at the level of the upper border of the symphysis pubis. Whereas in adults, when empty it is a pelvic organ. When distended, it becomes an abdominopelvic organ and it ascends from lesser pelvis by displacing the peritoneum from the infraumbilical part of the anterior abdominal wall. Now let's see. To see this shows the different shapes of the bladder. Here in empty, this is the empty bladder. The empty bladder, the shape is tetrahedral in shape. When it is distended, it is ovoid in shape. So when the bladder is volume or it is filled with 1/4 of the volume of the bladder, it is in this shape. So when the volume is increased to 2/4 of the capacity of the bladder, so this is the fully distended bladder. You can see the ovoid shape of the bladder. So when it is empty, it is tetrahedral in shape, and when it is fully distended, it is ovoid in shape. So here now we can see the position of the bladder. This is a sagittal section of your abdominopelvic cavity. This is posterior. So posterior you can identify it by the vertebra. This is lumbar vertebra. This is anterior. So you can determine by the pubic symphysis. So this is anterior and this is posterior orientation. I have already explained 1 to 3 years of age it will be abdominopelvic. So this is bladder. This is the urinary bladder. So this urinary bladder is abdominopelvic in location. Later it descends down and enters the pelvic